Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Tre Hale about Platonic, which recently dropped on AppleTV+. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Man, thank you so much for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
I want to get into the show because I love it. I just love the slice of life component of it and everything. I find it interesting because one of your first kind of passions and love was American football. And
Yes.
It's one of those things where now you're acting and you're doing a lot of other things as well in storytelling. You've always been a performer because on the field, you're performing. Do you think about that at all? That you just have always got a bit of a performer, different performances, but Tre Hale has always been a performer.
Yeah, no, man, 100%. I tell people all the time, I'm not a classically trained actor. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these guys, they come up and they do these crazy extensive theater schools and programs. I never got to do that, but I tell people all the time that football was my acting class growing up. You know, the performance aspect of it, like you said, handling adversity. You know, being an actor is a lot of no's, a lot of rejections, a lot of tough days, and understanding how to kind of cope with that and move forward. And I did have a little bit of training at UCLA and as a theater minor. But yeah, man, there's a lot of strange parallels with football and acting that I draw onto still to this day.
The discipline component, the kind of health and wellness and the kind of mental state of a lot of preparation. There's so many comparables. It's crazy to think about.
Literally, man. And just like you said, I mean, just the performance of it all. I think there's a big part of acting for film and television that is just not being nervous on a set and not being nervous with, you know, a big ass camera in your face as you do this scene. And I always kind of equate that to there's nothing more nerve-wracking than running out of a tunnel. You're about to go to war with your brothers in front of like 80,000 screaming fans. You know, so yeah, bro.
You know what, man? And it's so crazy because I'm a huge football fan. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I think I just love the spectacle component of it, man. I don't know. There's something about the crowd reactions, right?
Bro. I was just at WrestleMania. I just went to WrestleMania.
Did you see Backlash from Puerto Rico?
Like, bro, I watched that live.
Dude, I'm telling you, that match, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, I think that match is going to make Damian Priest a star.
Low key, yeah. I remember seeing that when I saw that he was headlining that with Bad Bunny. I was like, "Oh, Damian Priest is about to be the
and the
real
crowd.
deal."
He comes out to a song, Bad Bunny. It was like I rewatched that time. You got to show it Apple TV Plus. We got to talk about. So we gotta back. So here's the thing about this show, Platonic. You know, so many amazing, incredible storytellers you got to work with on this. You know, Rose and Seth and everything, the whole cast. It's interesting because I feel like this story and this concept of these like friends and this platonic relationship and everything is something that's around our lives a lot. But I don't think I can't think of like 5 movies or shows that like touch on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know that's unique? I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's so brilliant about our show, and it's a credit to our creators, Nick Stoller, Francesca Del Banco, Seth, Rose, Connor Welch, who are producers on the show as well. They really set out to make a show about platonic friends. I mean, the name it's in the title, everything about the show. And when you watch it, man, I think there's a lot of times where naturally as a viewer, we subconsciously push the narrative towards romance and we push the narrative between men and women to love. And that's what's so awesome about our show is there is no will they, won't they, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like Rose and Seth are truly platonic friends in this show. And their relationship, though very consuming and it causes some problems for them and shit hits the fan a little bit, it's never a question of love or romance or is it going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, and especially I think it's interesting as a viewer to watch the show because the whole time Sylvia's husband, for the most part, Charlie, played by Luke McFarlane, played excellently by Luke McFarlane. So good in the show. He never is actually concerned. And there's moments in the show where, I feel like he gets a little upset at Sylvia's behavior, but it's never because she's hanging out with Will. It's because of how she's acting, which is natural, but it's not because she's hanging out with her friend, which I think is so cool.
And I just want to say something because I feel like this is really important, Trey. I mean, you got to work with, amazing people like Luke, Rose, and Seth. I'm going to switch it around a little bit. They got to work with Tre Hale because you are amazing in the show, man. No, seriously.
Man, oh, thank you so much, bro. That really means a lot.
Like, I really love the character and the arc and everything. And this is my next question. All these characters are figuring things out and doing soul searching and self-reflection, even in their conversations and their banter. During the pandemic, that's all we were doing because we had the time to do so. So I feel like you watch this show and you watch your characters' conversations and all this, and like, I feel like it hits harder now because we were doing that for 3 years. Do you know what I mean by that?
Sure. Yeah. No. 100%. And two, I think to that point, just our conversations in general on the show, as I see it and I watch, they're so natural and they're so real and effortless between all of us. And giving another shout out back to specifically on this one, Nick Stoller and Francesca Del Banco, our creators and writers and directors, just the way that was kind of the vibe that they created on set, and being there with them and watching them lead a set with a lot of interesting personalities, quite frankly, and a lot of different styles and approaches to acting and comedy. And I mean, I'm a newcomer. My co-stars, Andrew Lopez, Vinnie Thomas, we're very new to this level of acting in general, let alone doing comedy with comedic masters. So the fact that they were kind of able to get us all together and have us working as a team to convey some of these really cool conversational bits that I think resonate and hit home with a lot of people is just so awesome of them.
I feel like the first season of a show is always going to be overwhelming because you've never played this character before. You can have the sides, you can make the self-tapes and everything, but you've never played this character. You don't know this character. You might think at some point you know this character, you don't. Because they're new, right? What was your mindset when you officially booked this? How did you kind of prepare to kind of get ready to play this character, which is going to be a new experience for you specifically?
Sure. I mean, I feel like I was cheating a little bit because Andy on paper, if I'm being honest, he's very similar to myself. I think we both have a lot of the same aspirations and not like the same aspiration because he obviously wants to run a bar. I'm trying to do something different, but just the same mindset and the same approach to trying to get what we want in life. So it wasn't that hard really to sink into Andy's shoes, if I'm being honest. I think the biggest challenge for me was starting to understand myself as a joke deliverer, being on a set where we got to improv a lot and have a lot of fun, and you're going with people that are very funny and they can take scenes a certain way. So for me, it was really big is to just listen as an actor, kind of let, actors like Seth and Rose take the lead and follow where they go in a scene. And again, credit to our producers and everyone for letting me feel comfortable enough with kind of improvising and riffing and making Andy a little more real to myself and really putting those little shades of color on certain scenes and whatnot. But yeah, outside of that, it was, I tell people sometimes, and I don't want people to think that it was easy by any means, but for lack of a better way, it was some of the easiest acting I feel like I'll ever have to do, being able to just go have fun with the boys for most.
See, I would think that I would think working on Love and Monsters would be the easiest acting, considering that's the most massive set I've ever seen.
Yeah, right. And it's crazy, man. That was 2 months in Australia, and that still is a pretty wild experience to me. That was like my first time really on like a big movie set and seeing it at a high level. Millions of dollars in equipment.
I love that movie so much, man. I actually watched that movie awesome. Like 2 months ago. I rewatched it. I love that movie.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. It's a fun movie. I remember making that movie, us kind of all being on set, like, what are we making here? There was vibes at times.
I was really pumped because it did like I think it was like I remember like I did go to theaters, I believe, or like it was during the pandemic. Yeah, it did. But then it got put on Netflix, and I was so excited because I was like scrolling and I watched it on Netflix. I was like, yes, you know what I mean?
No, I love to hear that, man. That was a great project to be a part of. That's always one that'll be near and dear. I have a Love and Monsters tattoo because of that movie. Like, it meant a lot.
The frog thing always freaked me out. That was always like,
the big frog. I have the crab, the big crab from the end that eats me. I got that crab tatted on my leg, holding my character shotgun. It's a cool one.
Yeah, you're like in the trailer and everything. You probably just screamed.
Yeah, I got it for like my 2 minutes in the movie, but yeah, it was great.
Hey man, we'll take it, man. It's like a football win in double OT. We'll take it, right?
That's right. That's right.
They missed the field goal, you win the game. You'll take it, right?
We'll take it, bro. That's right.
What would you say is your favorite thing about kind of the acting component of things? Like, because it's so many kind of different things. You're kind of diving into all these different worlds, like we talked about. You get to play these different characters. Is there something Tre Hale likes the most about being a storyteller and an actor, or are you still kind of learning what you like about it as you go?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Definitely still learning. I've been very, very fortunate and very blessed at an early stage in my career. But yeah, man, it's an awesome gig, bro. It's a blessing to be able to realistically play pretend, because that's what we do. We play pretend, and getting opportunities to kind of dip your foot into different worlds, like doing something like Platonic, for instance, getting to be a bar owner and learning about bar terminology, and ours, they built us an entire functioning bar for our set. So that set that you see when we're at Lucky Penny, that is a real bar that the kegs work, the taps work, the tankers in the back are working. So yeah, being able to do things like that, bro, has just been such a blessing.
Did you refer to it as the Lucky Penny? Did the cast have a secret kind of name for the area? Like, did you guys call it something?
Oh no,
cool,
that was
like
Lucky Penny, man. That was Lucky Penny Brew Co. That was yeah, that was it's funny. I don't want to give too much away about the show, but a funny story from that bar. So everything was real in that bar, except for the liquor, the beer, of course. That was all fake. For obvious reasons, that was all going to be fake. Now, the tanks in the back, I don't remember whatever set deck explained to me how, but that was the only part of the bar that couldn't hold fake beer. So all the beer in that tank is real. And there is a scene where me and Seth get into a little fight with a bunch of beer flying all over the place. That was real beer. We did that like 10 or 11 times. I'm not going to say I was buzzing, but I was a little light and goofy.
I mean, it could have been non-alcoholic beer. It could have been, we don't know. No one knows. It could have been all.
Yeah, right. Literally, I'm airing it all out right now. Just look, what am I doing?
Yeah. Oh my God. No, absolutely. And I did want to kind of ask another thing as well, going back to kind of the performing component of it when I talked to you about being a football player and everything. Sure. The work ethic is something that I feel like you hear a lot. Like we talked about a lot of things, but the work ethic component of it, how important would you say for you on the field were those days of kind of like, was it kind of just one of those things where you just had to like write everything down, or did you get used to everything in terms of, gym, game day, everything? I'm just curious about that, right? Because some people have to write it down, but some people have it to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing at that level, man, it's all kind of scheduled for you. So as far as like, your coaches are writing it down for you. They're sending it to you, and you know where you have to be. But yeah, you do fall into this mode. It could be a little repetitive, I guess, but it's a grind, bro. And you're working, Coach Moore used to always say, we practice hard to make the games easier. And that's like the same thing with acting, man. It's putting the work in and doing the work for your character and understanding, who you're going to be. If you're on a set, like I was on Platonic, where, we had the opportunity to kind of know our character's arc, prior to getting there, doing the work and understanding how you're going to get to that ending point. Yeah, man, it all goes hand in hand with acting in football and those parallels. It is strange how much it's the same. And I do still now, like my poor lady, I'm sure she's getting so annoyed with me because all I've been watching as of now has been Platonic. And I'm just like, it's like I'm in the film room again, bro. I feel like I'm back in the film room watching like plays, and I'm watching the scenes, and I'm like, okay, so I did that there. Maybe a little bit to a fault. I'm probably overdoing it, but it's the same thing in my head. It's watching film and getting better.
100%. And Platonic episodes are streaming on Apple TV Plus worldwide, which is unbelievable. Tre, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Dude, thank you, bro. I appreciate you having me, man.
Your Instagram account, if they just put Tre Hale, I'm sure they'll find it, right?
Yeah. It's actually it's Tre Hale, but if you just type in TRE, I'm sure you'll.
You're not lying. It's Tre Hale.
There it is. Look, I'm straight up, man.
Absolutely. Well, it's been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You can catch Tre Hale and Platonic on Apple TV Plus. Until next time, it's Tre and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.